Alright, welcome back everyone, it's David, aka Faramir4731, and I'm bringing you a 4v4 battle on the Finland map, and I'm going to be playing as France on the bottom of the hill on the flank, and I won't bother telling you all the players other than Artist. He is going to be right next to me, also playing as France, and we are going to be going up against a Spanish player and a Prussian player, and you can see all the cav is pushed extremely fast forward, as well as all of their lights and a militia unit. And you can see here things are going to escalate extremely fast on the bottom. Now, one thing that happens is, since they have their cav up, the Prussian player does see that as they have started engagement with the lights, he has pushed his cav into Artist's lights and has actually been able to rout out one of them. Now, he's going to bring his other two cav forward, but you see what Artist has here. He actually has all of his lines there to support. His artillery is what now the cav is focused on, and the Prussian player is basically going to lose all of his cav there. Now I'm going to take the opportunity, since the Prussian player has none of his lines to support his lights and all of his cav is tied up, I'm going to push on his lights. Now I've got to do this rapidly while I'm microing the bottom, so I do end up hitting some stakes here. I thought I would end up wide of them when I pushed behind, but I didn't. I ended up hitting one, so one of my cav is going to rout out quickly, simply due to the stakes. But you can see we are going to just pummel these poor Prussian Jaegers, and Artist is now pushing his cav up, and I'm just going to sweep back down on the Jaegers to give him a second charge. And you can see he's got two grenadiers coming up. That's too little, too late. Artist is now sweeping his cav down through him, and now you can say goodbye to the Prussian Jaegers. So leaving your lights without line support can be a very deadly engagement. So Artist has all of his cav. He did lose one of his lights. Now here's where I make a bad mistake. I'm going to see an open opportunity to charge down on the cazadors, but really I shouldn't have done this. This was a terrible, terrible, terrible move on my part. I ended up losing two of my cav that had decent strength. Not great, but at least half strength. And I had my lines there already shooting at the cazadors, so when the cazadors got charged, he pulled them back. So I lost an opportunity to shoot up the cazadors. Now you can see I got lucky on this one right here. When I pushed back, he had targeted one of my lines, and then I pushed back forward. Now back up here on the top of the hill, the Ottoman player tries to get a charge on the French artillery up at the top of the hill, but the Dutch player is going to take out that, and that's our two allies at the top. We have a French ally and a Dutch ally, and they're going up against a Ottoman player and an evil French player, we will call him. Now this is something I did. I microed. I was waiting for him to shoot at my lights, so once I saw that he had already committed to the volley, I pushed my lights back, and his artillery fell, basically just shooting the grass. So now what I'm going to be doing is, this is a tactic I use when I'm fighting on the bottom. Give away some of my secrets here, but I have several variations to this, so really honestly I'm not, because I just shift between variations of this tactic. And yeah, so I've got all my lights on the flank. He's got his lights in the center, so he's going to have to readjust to either meet my lights, or he's going to be basically shooting into the trees, which is he's still gonna get some kills, but it's gonna slow down the process, while I can target all on his line on the flank. So once it gets to where it routes, it'll route right off the map. And you can see here Artist has his lines, and his cav were shooting up the flank there. because the Spanish player was overexposed out, and the Prussian player left his teammate there to be flanked. So we took advantage of that. And you can see he's forming square because Artist did force that square with his cav being there. So he was able to maneuver without getting shot. And you can see here we got him in the Spanish player in a nice little pickle here. He's got several of his guards there formed up against us and on that kind of in the middle there. So that's where he's going to have his most advantages. And you can see I'm shooting up that cazador. I've got my artillery now formed up, and it's going to just pound the flank here at the red line. So yeah, things are going quite well for us. We have a definite advantage. So I'm going to be pushing this. So you can see the Spanish player has all of his light dragoons to his advantage. So I am pushing forward, and I'm trying to knock out this cazador as possible. But seeing how he has all of his light dragoons coming up, over to the flank, I am going to push up my 2 bulkeleys that I have in reserve, and they are going to support my lights. Now over here you can see we have a cav charge, 1 unit of mine, 1 unit of Artist's cav, to force back these Ottoman light infantry, and we are able to push them back, and we pull back our cav. Now over here on the flank you can see that the French player is coming up to support, and I'm going to take full advantage of this. As soon as I see goons coming up in range, I'm going to target all of my lights to shoot on those goons. So you can hear the horses whimpering as they die. I'm going to push up my bulkeleys as I'm expecting the charge to come, as they see my lights on the flank as an open opportunity. All I have to do is push my units behind my lines. I have 1 grenadier mixed in there, by the way, and my bulkeleys take a shot at them, and now the artillery comes up to clean them up. That was perfect timing, and now I can push my lights back forward and they can get back to work. Pretty nice, huh? So yeah, basically any missed shots are going into the dragoons in the back, so it's a win-win. Yay! So now here comes the Spanish player. Now is going to take his turn at this same attempt. So I'm going to basically do the same thing. Artist is actually going to use his one of his cav over here, and he's going to push it and stick those dragoons right in place. You can see it's already shot at the dragoons. Now he's going to stick it there. So since he didn't come forward enough to get shot up by my bulkeleys, I'm going to push my bulkeleys forward. And you can see they were slowed down a little bit. I do open up with my lights, unfortunately, because that did shoot up my bulkeleys in the back slightly, not a great deal. But Artist did rout out one of the dragoons, and then the volleys from the others routed out another one. So now he's down to 2 dragoons. So that charge netted 2 of his dragoons being routed off the field. Now here comes his last 2 shortly thereafter, and they are going to make their demise as well. No need to push back on this. I'm just going to absorb the charge, and we are going to just put all kinds of blasts. Now the reason I don't push back on this charge is because his lines are not in range, and based on his tendencies of what he's done, I don't have a fear that he's going to push his lines forward. Now if I did think he would push his lines up, I would have moved my lights back. So it's basically, my reaction is based on what the Spanish player does. If he moves his line forward, my lights will push back. If that makes sense. So yeah, now with the Spanish player without any cav support, he's toast. So we are pushing forward. We've just constantly whittled down his units. His guards are being absolutely shredded at this point, and Artist is now commencing some cav charges as well as I am. We are basically hitting them and doing hit and run charges on their lines, and this is going to allow us to maneuver forward and take them out one at a time. And I've got one bulkeley that I'm going to charge at his cazadors. You can see just beyond where the quicklime hit when the Spanish unit is routing, where I had my little X. There they are, the cazadors. You can see they are going to be laying fire, so I'm going to push my bulkeley out of that square unit and push them into the cazadors. That's going to force them back. Now, whether I lose the bulkeley or not, at this point it doesn't matter. I've got another line in melee with this Prussian line that's going to stick him there, so where that artist can come up and shoot them down. So we're just dealing with 3 Spanish units here at the bottom, and then the flank will be completely ours. And I have 3 lines to his 2, and now all my lights were able to shift over and fire on him, as well as artist is coming in to join in the fun. You can see over at the top left of the screen I still have my line in melee with the 3 cazadors. Now this is going to force the evil French players brought 2 units down the hill to assist because he saw things were going south. So this does cause a little bit extra units for us to deal with, plus we are going to see some Ottoman units come down as well. You can see as we have shifted over, artist is going to do a cav charge, and what I did is I saw that he was charging through, so I pushed my 2 lines forward, and that way I don't shoot up his cav. Okay, so shifting later on in the battle, as we're pushing up the hill, we do some walking, so I'm cutting ahead quite a bit. So you can see here the Dutch player on our ally, the Dutch player, is going to get a magnificent charge off on the Ottoman lights here. So he is keeping artists at bay because he's outranged us. So he's got to walk, otherwise his guys are going to be extremely exhausted. So this charge here is huge. Knocking out this unit is just absolutely gargantuan. And he's going to go into the other Nazim Cadet rifle and look at taking that one out as well. This is going to leave the Prussian player without any light support, and it allows artists to move his lines forward. And I think our French ally has another unit in there with him. No, this is actually all artists because it's too coordinated to be another person. So now you can see the French player at the top of the hill, our French ally, is going to pull off a very successful charge on the front of the Ottoman player. Now you would think that this we've got everything in the bag. Half of the Ottoman army is fighting us at the bottom of the hill, or where we're flanking, and the remnants of the Prussian army with some of the French units from the top of the hill are also assisting, keeping me at bay. So I'm facing the remnants of the Prussian army plus 2 or 3 units from the French player from the top. So that means our 2 allies are facing off against 2 very depleted fronts, and myself and artists are going to take the majority of the blunt of this of the armies here. So what happens is you can see the Prussian player is going to force me back down the hill a little bit more, which is not a good thing for me because now I got to force myself back up the hill once I start gaining ground. And you can see here the French player as at the top of the hill has lost a good portion of his army due to flanking fire from the French from the top, and also the Ottoman player just sticking in there and basically give him a slapping. So yeah, so things are pretty stable. Things are in our favor still, just simply because we are whittling down their armies, and we basically way outnumber them at this point. So even though my army and artist's army are on the brink of exhaustion, we basically have numbers on them, and that's going to mean a lot. As you can see, the Prussian and French player here are pushing me back, and as I push back down the hill, this is going to allow artists, you can see on the flank there, is going to start getting flanking fire on the French player, and this is going to spell doom for their push on us. Which it was a nice push, but really it was overextending themselves. They're already overextended as it is because they're fighting on so many fronts. They should have let us come to them and take the damage as they roll up the hill. Okay, so we're going to jet forward to the end of the battle now because things are pretty much wrapping up. And the Dutch player is going to basically have to win it for us because he has a full army and he's going to face off against the depleted other units. So anyways, I hope you liking these tactics I kind of showed you. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.